Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulihi al-Nasih al-Ameen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa tabi'een. Wa lahum bi ihsan ila yawm al-din. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, this is the second installment of the Ignite Your Passion series. And inshallah ta'ala, as we said before, these series will give a glimpse of some of the experience Nafis Abu Zayd have experienced out his life and his journey of learning about al-Islam. Alhamdulillah, we were able to cover the first series dealing with how I discovered the Arabic language. This Ignite Your Passion series, this second clip, will deal with how I discovered the love for the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as all of you know, I'm such the type of brother, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I learned in an untraditional way. I didn't learn in a traditional way when it comes to the Islamic studies. But before beginning, inshallah ta'ala, how I discovered the Qur'an, I want to give a little glimpse into a story. I can remember when I was in elementary, and they was asking the kids, what would you like to be? What can you see yourself when you grow up? And most people were saying they wanted to be, some people were saying they wanted to be lawyers, some people said they wanted to be firemen, some people wanted to be police officers and so forth. This is the class, you know, we're young, we're in school. When it got to me and they asked me, what do you like to be when you grow up? And I remember me saying that I wanted to be a preacher, interestingly enough, right? And at this time I wasn't Muslim. You know, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed my mom to give me a name, which is Nafis, and my middle name, which is Tahir. But she was dealing with someone who was dealing with the FR at this time, so I guess they figured themselves to be upon Islam. And she tried it, but it wasn't, you know, that wasn't for her. But I still got the name out of the deal, right? So anyway, it was interesting enough because I wanted to be a preacher. I always knew that I had the passion of speaking to people and speaking about the Creator. And I was more so, as I got a little bit older, before I turned 14, because that's when I became Muslim, I was into like what they call Christian studies and Bible studies and so forth like that. Anyway, fast forward now to my discovery of the actual Qur'an. So I heard an individual, brother named was Sharif. And he had some time overseas. He spent some time in Misr. And when I heard him recite the Quran, there used to be a particular surah that he would recite, and he used to lead us in prayer in. And instantly, the way that he recited the surah and the way that I heard it and it affected my heart was, I knew right then and there that I don't care, whatever it takes, I'm going to learn the Quran by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. The particular surah that he was reciting, and at this time I didn't know the surah, but alhamdulillah, I learned it, inshallah ta'ala, as you should see throughout this talk. This particular surah was Surah Qaf, the 50th chapter of the Quran. I didn't know much about it, but I know when he would recite it, the couple of verses that he would recite about 4 or 5 verses, and it always touched me. These verses was potent. Allah Jalla wa Ala, he says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. والقرآن المجيد بل عجبوا أن جاءهم منذر منهم فقال الكافرون هذا شيء عجيب أإذا متنا وكنا ترابا ذلك رجع بعيد قد علمنا ما تنقص الأرض منهم وعندنا كتاب حفيظ بل كذبوا بالحق. And the brother will always stop here. بل كذبوا بالحق. He would do it 3 times. بل كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فهم في أمر مريج أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف كيف بنيناها كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج والأرض مدناها وألقينا فيها رواسي وأنبتنا فيها من كل زوج بهيج تبصرة وذكرى لكل عبد منيب. And when I heard these verses, I was instantly in love. So I would track the brother there and I would say, SubhanAllah, brother, can you help me understand, how can I learn the surah? And I think this time he was working, he didn't complete the Qur'an at this time, but he was working on Surah Al-Kahf. So he recited some verses from Musa and Khidr to me about having patience and so forth. So it was kind of, I was telling him I want to learn it. So I was actually that. But that wasn't the first surah I learned. That was the first surah that I developed my love, that I knew I wanted to finish the Qur'an. I had my passion to finish Qur'an. Now keep in mind, I didn't have no teachers. I didn't have no one to formally help me in this point. But I already, inshallah ta'ala, was learning Arabic at that time. Remember, I started learning Arabic when I was 14. So at this time, I can read the Qur'an, but it wasn't with the proper tajweed. It wasn't so forth like that. So the next surah, which is the surah that I actually learned, one of my first surahs that I learned besides Al-Fatiha, which is a given, by the permission of Allah. But that surah was Surah Shams, and it's still one of my favorite surahs to this day. I mean, if you just recite Shams and just reflect on Shams, I'm not going to recite the whole thing, I'm just going to recite a little bit part of it, but I was so excited when I memorized this actual surah, and it's a beautiful surah. Allah Jalla wa Ala says it's the 91 chapter of the Quran. Allah says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wash-shamsi wa duhaha wal-qamari idha talaha wan-nahari idha jallaha wal-layli idha yaghshaha was-samaa'i wa ma banaha wal-ardi wa ma tuhaha والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. And here in this surah, the brother, he used to recite the surah as well. And the brother name, as we said, was Sharif. And I actually completed it, the whole entire surah. So it was like, alhamdulillah, I accomplished something and I knew I was on to something. But at this time, I didn't really have tajweed, so I was listening to some of the different qadris and trying to, and then anyone I come across. So I remember moving on in my journey, I came across Surah Rahman. I was reading the story of the companion that was outside of, he stood out in front of where the Kaaba was at, and he was reciting Al-Rahman to the people, and they was throwing things at him and stuff like that. So I took my time to memorize it, and by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, Wallahi al-Azim, I just hope this would inspire you all. It doesn't matter if you have no teacher. It doesn't matter if you have this. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you something, remember Allah Jalla wa Ala said, ذَلِكَ فَضْلٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. Allah said this is a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives it to whomsoever He wills. And this was in reference to the Jews having a problem with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam being sent amongst the Arabs and all the whole world as being a messenger. Allah Jalla wa Ala has placed that message with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and He said, ذَلِكَ فَضْلٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. This is a fadl from Allah azza wa jalla. No one can determine who's going to get this book. No one who can determine who's going to get the sunnah, who's going to get this knowledge. It's Allah Jalla wa Ala who sees something in someone and He places it into him. So at this time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed, remember I didn't have no formal trust. Allah Jalla wa Ala will allow the brothers would be at least about 4 or 5 brothers who will always come in the morning and ask me to recite Surah Rahman. And it was amazing because at this time I really wasn't skilled. I didn't know what I know now. I know tajweed now, alhamdulillah, but I didn't know this. So I was reciting, it was more like genuine, and the brothers was actually, one brother in particular would say, brother, recite Surah Rahman, recite Surah Rahman. So Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says in this beautiful surah, and it's crazy because Allah says it in the second verse. Allah Jalla wa Ala, He says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Qur'an. He says it in the second verse. Allah is the one who teaches the Qur'an. Allama al-Qur'an, Khalaqa al-Insan, علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو الأصل والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. Allahu Akbar. And reciting that surah, especially those verses, Allah Jalla wa Ala keep reiterating, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, and let you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wants to open your breast to Al-Islam, He'll open your breast to Al-Islam. And here is a hardened criminal. I mean, all of us got a background and so forth. But here is a person who was just on the streets, I mean, from selling drugs, from robbing people, from doing all types of dirty, nasty stuff, you know. Here it is, Allah Jalla wa Ala placing the love in my heart for His book. A person who is a non-Arab, a person who really don't understand. And I would read about the Prophet ﷺ and things like that, and I would just become zealous and really learning. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward the brother Sharif, because it was through him that I developed this love for the actual Qur'an. So as I'm going, I'm learning bits and pieces. So I finished just Amma. Alhamdulillah, I finally completed it with 37 surahs. And I remember there was a certain brother that I met before he was able to travel over. He sat down, he was listening to me recite Surah Juz Amma. I just recited over him, and he actually gave me the set of volumes in English of Bukhari. So I was reading most of that. And then by the time I got out, dealing with the people and stuff like that, and getting a part of the community, I was learning bits and pieces of surahs. So I went to Aqsa Masjid, and I heard the Imam Muhammad Shahata recite, and I was like, SubhanAllah Azim. So, I built my courage up. I said, you know what? One day, I lived not too far. I was on 6th Street. I said, one day I'm gonna sit down with him, and I'm just gonna recite over him. Because remember, I don't have a teacher. So I mustered up the courage, and I went to him, and he told me to recite. And when I began reciting, I was reciting Surah Fatir, this is the 35th chapter of the Qur'an. And as I'm reciting Surah Fatir, he would listen. He wouldn't correct me so much, but then afterwards, by the permission of Allah Jalla, he told me where I made my mistakes, and he told me how we can get together and go over some things. And we were able to actually get together before he became extremely busy on certain surahs. So I was able to recite in front of him, and it was like, mashallah, here's a Hafiz of the Quran, here's an individual who, lead the people countless Ramadans in the Quran. And I got a chance to actually sit over him and had mustered up the courage. So remember now, I don't have much of Quran with me at this time. I just got bits and pieces. Some of the 30s. I have Juz Amma. I have Juz Qad Sami Allah. I have Juz Qad Sami Allah this time. I have some certain parts of the Quran with me, but not all. So I started working at the chart house. And when I was at the chart house, what I would do, I was a dishwasher. So what I would do is I would bring my mushaf with me, and as I'm taking out the trash or doing something, I would review. And then as I review, I finished Surah Sabah, the 34th chapter. I finished, I believe, Surah Sabah, and I finished Surah Yasin while working at the chart house. By the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. It reminded me of the hadith that comes in Bukhari, that there was one certain Sahaba that he would work, and as he would work, he would recite the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So he would combine between working as well as remembering Allah Jalla wa Ala. And I feel like he was talking about better years. So I'm still on my discovery of the Quran, by the way. Still no former teacher, still untraditional. So fast forward a little bit, I would go to certain masajids. This is when I, found out about Sunnah Nabawiyah. I would go up there, recite a lot. This is when Dawadi was the imam, I believe, for the first time. And he would, he would pretty much observe me, see me reciting Quran a lot, just constantly reciting Quran a lot. And so I would recite, and then one time the Shalat came in, and he was just like, lining up the rows and just pushed me up. So I'm so nervous now, my heart getting ready to fly out, because I'm like, why is this guy even pushing me up? I mean, I know you see me read Quran, but you don't know what I know. You don't know if I can recite proper or anything. It's just, he's pushing me up. And I mean, it was a way of encouragement. May Allah reward that with thee. But it was, wallahi, I was so scared. My heart shaking, my legs shaking a little bit. So as I'm reciting Qur'an, you know, and I'm leading the people, it wasn't about showing off. It was just, I was really scared. So I think I tried to recite something easy, because at this time, you know, I wasn't on Juz Amma. So I'm learning bigger surahs now. So I started reciting Isra, because I'm going into a little bit bigger surahs. So it's like, this is what I'm working on right now, so let me recite that. So I recited in my prayer, I recited in my Sunnah prayers and so forth. So this is what I'm working on. And I'll recite some of that as well. And I had a similar experience with Muhammad Wahab Masjid as well. One of the students was actually leading the salah. I'm not going to say no names because it's not here to blast anyone out, nothing like that. And he was making a mistake on a certain surah. And I kept correcting him. First I tried to allow him to correct himself, and then I kept correcting him. So I think Abu Hassan Malik took notice of that, and then he called me up to the office one day, and he was like, brother, for now, if I'm not here, you just lead the prayer. And that's what happened. I mean, it wasn't like I was seeking any position, nothing like that. It was just that I was really hungry for the Book of Allah. Now I didn't complete it yet, so I'm still hungry. And I met a brother. These two brothers I met at a masjid. The brother named Abu Nur, one of my friends, alhamdulillah, and he was getting ready to go to Misr. You know, remember, I didn't get a chance to leave yet, so he was getting ready to go to Egypt. Him and his brother named Ibrahim, and he was like, you know, he was talking. I met them at a conference. That's where I first met him at. But then I seen him again when he was getting ready to leave. And then when he, you know, alhamdulillah, when he came back, he'd been over there between about 2 years roughly. He finished the entire Qur'an, mashallah. He finished one half with a teacher. So he got with me and he was like, listen, we can get together. He was like, we can get together, that's what he said, yeah, he said, we can get together on a weekly basis and just go over the Qur'an or so forth like that. You do your section, I do my section. So, you know, at this time I'm not knowing that he finished the Book of Allah. So I'm like, I'm being hungry, you know, and I'm like, okay, I already finished the Book of Allah. So we would sit down and we would meet on 2nd and Gerard at Masjid Albania. We would meet down there every day at a certain time. And you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true when he said, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. Allah said, indeed we made the Quran easy to remember. Is there anyone who will remember? And at this time, remember, I can memorize up to 8 pages of the Quran. I already knew this about myself, but I was only able to keep fresh about 4 of them. So if I memorized 8 that day, when I go back to recite it without reviewing, it would have been 4 strong, and I would have been kind of shaky on the other 4. So I knew my limit was actually 4, and I knew my max was actually 8. Now, if you understand anything about the Quran, they got things what they call ruba, and they got things what they, you know, what they call a hizb. All right, and there are a certain amount of rubas that in that Allah Jalla wa Ala, what He does is, and then His, you know, I mean, it shows you how many pages you can learn. And this before I learned about Sheikh Al-Ansari, Sheikh Hafid Al-Hakimi, how they would memorize the Quran, and they would do it by different pieces. So I was having the ability to memorize Ruba the Ruba, and that's about 4 pages. I told you 4 pages and a half. So we started with Baqarah. He was reviewing Baqarah. I never memorized Baqarah. I never even tried to go for it. So we got together, alhamdulillah, and we got together every, you know, and then as Sheikh bin Baz said, when you want to memorize Quran, take a sahib with you, take someone who's a companion, because y'all can review with one another. And of course, I was trying to impress the brother too, so I'm not gonna lie. That was there, you know, it reminded me of the narration where the Sahaba, I believe his name is, the name is gonna come to me. This Sahaba had a beautiful name, Abu Musa al-Ashari. That's what it was, Abu Musa al-Ashari. He had a beautiful recitation. Like the Prophet ﷺ said that he had one of the windpipes, of Dawood, alayhi salam. So when he would hear the Messenger of Allah ﷺ would be by while he would recite, and he would beautify his voice more. And this is not a form of riyah, as the Prophet ﷺ, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned in Zad al-Ma'ad, he said that, as the Prophet ﷺ said, he who does not beautify his voice when reciting Quran is not from us. So we know that something beautifying your voice, not just to be seen in men or getting paid for and so forth, etc., that is something encouraged. So this is what he would do. So anyway, I got with Abu Nur, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I got this guy with me. This is my time. This is my opportunity. So needless to say, by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, I was able to complete Surah Baqarah in 2 weeks. I finished the whole entire surah. I was like, subhanAllah azim. I was able to finish by just doing those rubas I was telling you about, just doing those 4 pages. And there's 20 pages in a jutz, all right? It's 20 pages in one jutz, Okay, so Baqarah have 2.5 juz. Baqarah have 2.5 juz. Okay, so that makes about 42 pages or so, right? 42 pages or so. Tell you. So I finished Baqarah, and I think I got halfway to Ali Imran. So then we got busy with our lives and stuff like that, and so I started studying on my own. Remember now, I'm still not having no teachers. I'm just meeting different people. So let's fast forward. I do itikaf at Al-Aqsa. Remember, I was learning a little bit with the teacher there. There was a Qari that they used to have come by reciting, like, you know how Bassett recite, right? How Bassett recite. There was a Qari there that they had how Bassett recite, you know, in Mujawwid style. So he had 2 sons who was also Hafiz as well, and he was a Hafiz Qur'an. So they had a Qur'an competition that year for the those who was in itikaf. You hear me? So what happened was I was able to, by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, I was able to they said, okay, whoever memorized Surah Anbiya before, I think we had like 3 days left or something like that, before the itikaf was over, there was a competition. So I said, you know what, I'm going to join the competition. I'm already in itikaf. I said, let me go ahead, I'm on to, you know what I mean? I remember I didn't know Anbiya at this time. So I completed it in 2.5 days. I'm like, okay, hey, mashallah, and I'm going over it, So when it came time, because they wasn't going to just let you say you finished it. You finished it. These were actually known people who were Qur'an, who were reciters, and they also was known Hafiz. I mean, they knew the Qur'an. I mean, Mahir. So when I went in front of them, he tested me. He tested me on this, and he would test me in different parts of it. And I was able to bring the verse. He tested me in different parts of it. Needless to say, I won the competition, alhamdulillah, and they gave me about, I think it was $50 in compensation, by the permission of Allah, for Surah Anbiya. Now I got bits and parts of the Qur'an. I'm almost sure, before I traveled to Egypt, because I'm getting ready to get to that. Before I went to Egypt, I believe I was almost at, I want to say I was almost at 20. I was almost at 20 edges at this time, before I went to Egypt. I believe that. Interestingly enough, I'm going to end this story as an inspiration to everyone with my story and my journey to Egypt. Okay? I want you to understand something important here. Because it was because of my love of the Qur'an, it was because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed that love of the Qur'an in my chest that I was able to go to Egypt. You understand? I spent the itikaf at Sunnah Nabawiyah, and there was some brothers, alhamdulillah, that was there. And you know, we would pray, and I would get up in the middle of the night, and they would pray behind me. You know, we would talk about a lot of stuff, and we would try to worship Allah and things like that. It was one particular brother that was there. There was one particular brother that was there, and he was getting ready to come into some money. You know, he didn't tell me that, you know, he didn't tell anybody that, but he was watching me and checking me out and things like that. It was all from the fadl of Allah. So one time, you know, after itikaf went over, all of us went where we at. It was one time he came to my house. I was living on 6th Street. He picked me up. We go to Masjid Muhammad al-Wahhab. We go over Jersey. So as we coming back from the Jumu'ah, he just threw the money on my lap. Like, hun, here go $2,000, man. Go ahead and leave. I'm like, subhanAllah. So, you know, I'm thinking in my mind, everything registered at this time. I'm like, this guy's talking about actually leaving, you know, and this guy's telling me to go ahead and leave. And I'm like, I can't lose this opportunity. So I do the right thing with the money. I go to the traveling agency. My first time ever getting on a plane, you know, leaving. Hum and another brother actually rode with me to the airport. I think we went to JFK in New York. And they rolled out there with me on the train and everything like that. And I got on the plane and everything. And I met a brother through Abu Nur. Remember, I was telling you, Abu Nur was already over there. So it was another brother that he had on the ground. And this is where I met our famous Imam. And may Allah reward him. I love this brother, alhamdulillah, for the sake of Allah. Our brother Nur Abdullah from Ghana. He was already Hafiz. I mean, Allah, mashallah, brother type. I met him over there. We grew a bond through the Quran. But anyway, it was a statement that he made to me when I got there. But when I got over there, I didn't know anybody, but Mamduh was there at this time. Remember, I know a little bit of Arabic. I wasn't that strong in Arabic. I only knew a little bit of Arabic this time. So when I got to Misr, I was able to finish the last little bit of the Quran that I had left. I think when I got back to the States, I only had Surah Al-Araf to finish. And then I would complete the whole book by the permission of Allah. But when I was in Egypt, I memorized Surah An'am. I memorized different other big surahs, Surah Toba, you know, Surah 9. And Surah Toba is one of the difficult surahs we like. Surah Toba, Surah Al-Araf at the end, and Surah Surah Nur, because of the vocabulary for me was really difficult. So as I'm going over, I'm sitting there, I'm meeting the brother Nur. We get together every day, you know, we eat, we go out and stuff like that. And it was so much love because I didn't know Nur was, mashallah. I didn't even know. It's like he would just, we'd be walking down the street, and this is the first time I ever got experienced the custom of men holding each other's hands, because Nur went to go grab my hand, and as we walking down the street in Egypt, I'm like, okay, this guy grabbing my hand, like, you know, in America, ain't no man walking hand to hand. So, you know, it was all love. So we walked down, we reciting Qur'an, we going back and forth, we just completing it, and it was an experience. So there was a sheikh at this time who was related to Sheikh, the famous Qari Mahmoud Abadi, and this particular Sheikh Hassan, he would go around to different villages, and I was in Shabino Qom. So when I was in Shabino Qom, which is in Monafia, he came near one time, and we had the opportunity. So I read Al-Fatiha over him, and I read 2 pages, I think 2.5 pages of Al-Baqarah over him. And, you know, he was kind of impressed. I would walk with him after school and stuff like, you know, after the sessions, I would walk with him, let him know how I was afraid to speak Arabic. He was saying, don't be afraid, you know what I mean, because how else you going to, other words, you're going to be corrected. You're not going to learn unless you speak it. So, alhamdulillah, he was real nice. There was other brothers there that was learning on Surah Nisa. There was another brother, Abdul Mutakabir, that I met. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him. I met him in Egypt as well. I know that his son Abdul Rahman also was there, who finished the Quran by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. So when I got back to the States, you know, my journey to becoming an imam and all that stuff happened, translation and everything like that. When I got back to the States, I was able to come across some case money. That's the reason why I left. And when I came back, you know, I was having, Hudayfa was being born, and then, you know, I was having whatever. So I left again. This time Allah invited me to his house. I took my money and I went straight to Mecca or Medina. SubhanAllah. I was able to go in Mecca for, because I was there for 2 weeks. I made Umrah. So I stayed in Mecca for majority of my time. And then I went to Medina for 1 day. So as I am in my second night, I think I was in the Haram. I was in Mecca. I stayed in the Haram all night. I didn't even go out, didn't go to the hotel or nothing. I stayed there. And it was so amazing to me, man. I couldn't help it. I was, you know, I started breaking down, crying, and I was reciting Surah Tawbah. Allah Jalla wa Ala says, Bara'atun min Allahi wa rasulihi ila alladhina ahadtum min al-mushrikeen. فسيحوا في الأرض 4 أشهر واعلموا أنكم غير معجز الله وأن الله مخزي الكافرين وأذان من الله ورسوله إلى الناس يوم الحج الأكبر أن الله بريء من المشركين ورسوله فإن تبتم فهو خير لكم وإن توليتم فاعلموا أنكم غير معجز الله وبشر الذين كفروا بعذاب أليم. And I'm like, SubhanAllah Azim, as I'm reciting it, I'm in the Haram, I'm thinking about all of the things I've been through, and I'm like, here it is, this criminal, this Muslim, who's from North Philly, who hasn't really got any background for being taught. I wasn't in those schools. I never made it to Qur'an like the brothers was going to. I didn't get to make it to Medina, the university. I didn't go to Egypt to study really too long. I was there. I sat in some of Sheikh Raslan classes, but I don't consider myself a former student of the Sheikh. And all of these different things. I didn't get to make it to Yemen, over there where Sheikh Mukbil students was at. And it was just like, I'm here now. So it was so overwhelming that I was learning, and I had this zeal for the Quran that Allah allowed me to complete his book without any formal teachers. And I say this not to say, okay, I'm a Hafiz or anything. I don't even walk around with that title, because I'm not a Hafiz of Quran. Hafiz of Quran have to have certain things. It's characteristics that comes with it. It's implementations. It's also not just being mad here and al-fadh and just memorizing the words, but there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. But alhamdulillah, I completed. There's not a surah in the book of Allah that I haven't completed at least once or twice in my life, that I have actually read from memory. And it was amazing to me because it showed me the bounty of Allah, the ni'mah of Allah. Allah said, Ar-Rahman. You know, I mean, if you just ponder on Ar-Rahman, there was a narration that there was one companion, he would just recite Ar-Rahman all the way into the morning come. And Allah said, Allama al-Qur'an, because Allah is the one who teaches Qur'an. So as I embarked upon this path and I learned this book of Allah Azza wa Jal and the love for the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, man, it took me places. And it reminded me of the statement that Nuh made to me when we was in Egypt. I told Nuh, I said, I came here by way of someone else giving me money. And I only had about $275, I think, at that time before I converted over to Egyptian money in my pocket by the time I got to Egypt. So a brother there from Britain, Allah you about it, that was his word, Allah you about it. This particular brother, man, Allah reward him. He spoke French and he also spoke Arabic. I mean, originally it's Usman's from Jazair. And this brother here, mashallah, he would ride a motorcycle. I mean, that's the first time I've ever been on a motorcycle. Man, I used to travel. He took me right in from the door. You don't got to stay there. I ain't had to stay with Noor. I had to stay with nobody. Noor had a family at the time. So he took me right in. I'm standing with him. And then, he don't speak English, by the way. He speaks nothing but Arabic or French. So it's like I woke up one morning, wanted to cut the light on. He was like telling me to cut the light on. So it was kind of amazing that once you realize the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you never know what Allah will do for you. You never know Allah. And that's why I realized that Allah raises people. It's not us. It's not no title. It's not no degree. It's not no place where you've been at. It's not no prestige. It's not this. It's not no group of people with you with. Allah give izzah, Allah give honor, and Allah raises people, and Allah lower people. So if anyone think that you're supposed to learn in a certain fashion, you're supposed to be in a certain fashion, then leave that up with them. They need to take it with their Lord. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives this deen to someone and place this zeal in someone. It's not that person. And I always try to remain humble and realize that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed this in you. This ain't nothing you can do in terms of that. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing me to stay strong to that, because it allowed me to become a brother. Before I made it to Mecca, the brother was asking me to make dua, and this is the custom. Brother said, you get around the Kaaba, make dua for me. I said, brother, what you want me to make dua for? He said, make dua that Allah make me a translator. And interestingly enough, I got over there, I made the dua for the brother that Allah made him a translator. But when I got back, guess who became the translator? Me. I was translating. The brother to this day doesn't translate. But I didn't make the dua for him. And it all falls. And I went through so many adversities dealing with different brothers in the arena of dawah, just because I was learned in an untraditional way, and I'm thinking that they should understand that whatever I got was from Allah. Whatever I got was from Allah. And if you want me to hone in my skills and stuff like that, let best. But whatever I got was from Allah. It was never from just because I didn't learn in this university or I didn't learn in that one. It was just Allah Jalla wa Ala gave it to whoever will. وَلَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى وَأَنَّهُ سَوْفَ سَعْيَهُ يُرَى. Allah Jalla wa Ala mentioned that man can only have what he strives for. Man can only have what he strives for, what you want. And this is my advice to all of you. I learned in an unconditional way. Yes, I did have teachers here and there, spurts, and yes, I learned tajweed at the time. So if you can, and you have a zeal for Qur'an, do not place a time limit on it. It took me about 2 years for me to finish the Book of Allah. Do not place a time limit on finishing the Book of Allah. Do not. There are systems out there where you can learn in a year, you can learn in 2 years, you can learn in 3 years. Alhamdulillah. But I'm telling you, it's all about sincerity, and it's all about you trying to get closer to your Lord. Do not place a time limit. Do not try to compete with this one or that one. Just have the firm resolve and be sincere and consistent in learning. If you can have a sahib, someone who is a person that you can get with, just to review with or go over with, then that can be a push and encouragement for you, and then I advise you to do it, as Sheikh bin Baz has so eloquently put it. Also, try to learn your limitation. Okay, there are different methods for different people. Some people can learn half a page. Some people can learn a whole page. Some people can learn 2 pages. Some people can learn 4. You don't have to try to push yourself above that. You understand? You can recite the verse 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. There were some surahs I had to recite the verse about 30 times. I mean, it depends, and also when you're learning. The thing about the Quran, and this is why the hadith that scares me the most, I don't know about you guys, but it scares me, And that is the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ was taken up to the heavens on his dream with the two angels, and he came across the man who was getting his head smashed in with the rock. You know, and this is because a person who sleep past the obligatory prayers. And he has Qur'an with him. You know, so one of the things of having Qur'an, and one of the best ways of holding and locking down Qur'an, is getting up for the night prayer. You have to make the night prayer your friend. If you want to finish and complete the book of Allah, you have to make the night prayer your friend. You understand? Because that's one of the ways you can recite and you can get it out and recite to Allah Jalla wa'ala, and it helps you keep it. Always constantly review. Mudhakara is important. The Prophet ﷺ said, tie down the Qur'an because it leaves. You know, it leaves you. It's like a camel can leave, if it's not tied down, it can actually leave. So you want to hold down the Qur'an and be sincere in it. Learn it. Teach it. I didn't expect to be an imam of nobody. I didn't expect to be a teacher. I didn't expect to be one who had the passion of just talking and telling people. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw otherwise for me. And I hope that this has inspired you all, inshallah ta'ala, not to be discouraged. You can complete the Qur'an. I don't care if you're 40, I don't care if you're 50, and I don't care if if you're 30, I don't care if you're 20, you can complete the Qur'an, but complete it for the right reasons. Don't complete it for the wrong reasons. Because remember, the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Qur'an hujjatun lak aw alayk. The Qur'an is going to be a proof for you or against you. It's a proof for you if you act according to it, and it's a proof against you if you don't. So you're going to have the burden. Once you begin to embark upon learning the Qur'an, you're going to have the burden whether or not it's going to be for you or against you. And that's going to be based upon you acting off of it. Whatever I said that was incorrect, throughout this whole talk, was from myself and the shaitan. Whatever I said is correct, it's from Allah Jalla wa'ala. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallah khair.